Hello, my soul family. Welcome to the Spiritual Counseling TV network. So for today's podcast show and motivational speech of the week, I'm going to teach you on how to maintain the peace, because I feel like this is going to be a very strong point in our relationships and keeping the harmony. So how do we do this when we're being emotionally triggered or people are getting on our nerves, right? How do we, in a sense, keep our mouth shut or bite our tongue, right? Because we need to remember that words are sacred and words can't be taken back. They stab deeper than an actual knife because they hit us where it hurts most, and that's our hearts, our emotions, our feelings. So how do we practice self-control when it comes to our words? Let me give you a piece of advice, and that's really to, first off, consult yourself in your mind. So make it a habit of really taking at least a minute to yourself before saying something that you might regret, and really asking yourself, is this really worth it, me saying this? Is this actually even true, what I'm thinking? Are my illusions of how I perceived the message from the other person actually real? Because that's the thing about communication, okay? We have the speaker and the listener, and then we have the message. And this message can be conveyed in so many different ways that it can come across very differently to the receiver. So if this messenger spoke this message from a place of a bad mood or a place of anger, it can come across very hurtful, very threatening, and it can come across as just very attacking, right? And obviously, as a survival instinct, the receiver is gonna feel like they need to defend themselves. But really, is this need to defend yourself actually necessary? And that's really synchronistic, because the daily message for Tuesday and Wednesday from the Course in Miracles, one of those 2 days, was sickness stems from the need to defend your truth. Now that's powerful, right? Because the divine is telling us here that there's nothing to defend. Because sickness of the mind, basically, any mental health issues that can arise, and believe it or not, anger is also a mental health issue. Because if you have no control over your anger, then that becomes a mental health issue. Because everyone should have control over their emotions. That's called emotional intelligence and emotional independence, which is one of the last themes that I talked about in my new soul coaching program. So if that's something you want deeper help with, really take a look at that program or book a personal session. And that's really going to help you to manage your emotions, especially when you know that it can hurt those around you and sabotage your relationships and even your career, for that matter, or even business potentials, because of your attitude. You need to really manage your attitude and control your attitude, because that's going to be your saving ticket and your saving grace in this life. Because this life requires learning how to interact with people, social intelligence. And a huge part of that is learning to keep the peace, and that begins with self. If everyone can do this, of course we would live in a harmonious, peaceful place. But the fact of the matter is that really not everybody can have this ability. Not everybody has this ability because, one, they don't believe that they can have control over their emotions, and two, they're not willing to actually put in the work, and three, perhaps they're not even interested in learning about this. So that, of course, puts a lot of pressure on these light workers that know this deeper thing happening energetically. And this is all a result of blockages in our chakras, which is a huge topic of what I talk about in my book, which will be coming out soon. And learning to, take a note of ourselves is the first step that we can take. And whether or not others are going to be willing to do the same. The second part of this is accepting that not everybody is going to want to do the same thing as us, right? If we control our anger and our emotions, not everybody's going to want to do that. People might still want to taunt you and trigger you, but now we know that that's their issue, right? And there's nothing that we can do about it but just let them be. So how do we create the peace while setting our boundaries straight? And that's practicing this assertiveness, which is step 3. If you need to contact, police and hire people on guard, of course do that, because that's your safety, and that's you really setting your boundaries high. And especially if you're a light worker, you need to have this peace around you, this clear aura. And this means, setting healthy boundaries with those who are trying to lower vibration. And of course, the divine and the angels are your number 1 bodyguards. So I would have to say, really watch the videos of last week on how to connect with your spirit guides and angels, and learn more about your angels that I talk about in my spiritual book club. I have a whole series there on how to learn about your angels and how to ask for help, because every angel has a different expertise, you can say. So of course, if you need this protection, call on Archangel Michael, number 1. And there's others too that can help you with anybody who's trying to disturb your peace, or anyone who's trying to trigger you, or maybe it's just a perception that's twisted in your own mind, you see. And that's where kind of like this Neptune and Pisces can come into play, playing with people's minds, right? And seeing things that are really not there, perceiving a message to be something that really was not intended to come across that way. And really being clear about this can really help to create more harmony in our relationships. And this can be any kind of relationship, whether it be business partners, dealing with the public, dealing with family, dealing with your partner, dealing with children for that matter, right? Really being clear on, is this really real? If you need to reconfirm with that person, is this what you meant to say? That's part of communication skills, right? Kind of like just making sure that you understood the message correctly. And if you didn't, they can clarify it. And if their message didn't come across, then they also know that they need to work on sending their message more clearly so that people can really understand them. So if you want to learn more about communication skills, I really went deep into this on week 5 of my Anu Soul Coaching program, where we talked about communication skills, assertiveness, and how to set healthy boundaries. That's really going to help us this week in creating these harmonious relationships within ourselves and exteriorly. So I really hope that this week you can really learn to manage your emotions. And of course, if you need personal guidance on this, please consult me and book a personal session with me, and I'll be so glad to help you. I'm free this entire week. I have more free time now, of course. As always, I've learned to manage my schedule with all the videos that I do on the Spiritual Counseling TV network and still be able to show up for my personal clients. So book a session before it gets full, basically. And I really hope that you have an amazing and beautiful, inspiring week. Namaste.